Samuel had always been the quiet boy in the corner, the one who never raised his hand in class, who avoided eye contact, and whose presence was barely noticeable to most. Teachers described him as polite but distant, classmates as odd but harmless. What no one knew was that behind his silence was a world of music bursting to be heard. Samuel didn't speak much, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't feel the world had a place for his voice. He spent most of his time drawing symbols in his notebooks, lines that seemed random to others, but were actually musical compositions in disguise. His world was made up of harmonies he imagined and melodies he couldn't quite explain to anyone, not even to his parents. They worried about his isolation, but never realized the depth of his inner world. Music was his language, and he was fluent in a dialect no one else around him understood. One evening, as the rain tapped softly against his bedroom window, Samuel stumbled upon an old keyboard in the attic. It was dusty with a few broken keys, but to him, it was a treasure chest. He carried it downstairs like a sacred relic, cleaned it meticulously, and plugged it in. The first note he played was shaky, unsure, but it was the beginning of something extraordinary. He spent hours each night teaching himself how to translate the music in his mind to the keyboard. He didn't know how to read traditional sheet music, but his mind worked differently. He mapped emotions to notes, memories to rhythms. Every key he touched carried a story he had never been able to tell with words. For the first time in his life, Samuel found a voice that didn't require speaking. Months passed, and Samuel's room transformed into a studio. Headphones, chords, and notebooks filled with compositions took over the space. He created songs that sounded like rainstorms, lullabies filled with longing, and symphonies that seemed to echo his life's pain and hope. He didn't share his work with anyone. It was too personal, too raw. But one afternoon, his younger sister wandered into his room and heard him playing. Her eyes widened, and without a word, she sat and listened. When he stopped, she whispered, "You sound like magic." That moment shifted something inside Samuel. For the first time, someone had seen a part of him that had always been hidden. Encouraged by his sister's words, Samuel decided to upload one of his tracks to a music-sharing platform under the alias Silent Muse. He didn't expect anything to come of it. It was more of an experiment than a declaration. But within days, the song started gaining attention. Comments poured in from people saying how the music touched them, helped them through hard times, made them feel understood. Samuel was stunned. The melodies that had only lived inside his head were now resonating with people across the world. Each play, each comment, each like was a validation that his silence had not been emptiness. It had been waiting for the right outlet. Opportunities began to appear. A small indie label reached out, asking if he'd be interested in producing more music. At first, Samuel was terrified. He had always created in solitude, never thinking his work was good enough for the public. But his sister reminded him that the music wasn't just his anymore. It belonged to everyone it helped. With trembling hands and a hesitant heart, Samuel agreed. He dove into production, learning the technical side of music, collaborating with other artists, and expanding his range. He composed music for short films, emotional pieces for mental health campaigns, and eventually an entire album that told his life story without a single word. Samuel's journey wasn't without struggles. There were critics who didn't understand his abstract approach, people who questioned his lack of formal training, and moments of crushing self-doubt. But with every piece he created, he grew stronger, more confident. He started giving interviews, not verbal ones, but in written form. He talked about growing up feeling invisible, about finding his identity through sound, and about the importance of alternative ways of expression. His story was picked up by blogs, then magazines, and eventually he was invited to speak via pre-recorded video at events promoting neurodiversity in the arts. He wasn't just making music anymore. He was becoming a voice for others who felt voiceless. One of the most pivotal moments in Samuel's life came when he was invited to perform at a youth talent gala. It was his first live performance. The auditorium was packed, lights dimmed, and silence fell over the room as he walked on stage. His hands trembled as he sat at the grand piano. Then he closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and let his fingers speak. What followed was a 10-minute composition that took the audience on a journey through sorrow, hope, and triumph. When the final note faded, the silence was replaced with a standing ovation. People were in tears. In that moment, Samuel knew he had truly been heard. From that night on, Samuel's life changed forever. He released more albums, collaborated with famous composers, and even developed a workshop series for teens who struggled with verbal communication. He showed them how to use music as a tool of expression, just like he had. His story was included in documentaries, his tracks used in therapy sessions, and he was named a cultural ambassador for creative expression. Despite all the recognition, Samuel remained humble. He continued composing from his bedroom, always staying connected to the core of why he started, to be heard, even in silence. Today, Samuel is considered one of the most innovative young composers of his generation. He has a foundation dedicated to supporting introverted and neurodivergent youth in the arts. His message is clear: your voice matters, even if it doesn't sound like everyone else's. Through music, Samuel transformed his perceived weakness into his greatest strength. His once quiet world is now filled with symphonies that reach millions. He didn't just change his life, he inspired others to believe that being different is not a limitation, it's a gift. Samuel's journey teaches us that sometimes the loudest voices are the ones that don't speak at all. If you've ever felt invisible, unheard, or misunderstood, remember, your story matters. Your silence may be full of untold songs, just waiting for the right moment to be shared. If this story moved you, please leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more real-life inspiration. And if you want to see Samuel's full musical journey and how his symphonies changed lives around the world, watch the extended version on our channel right now.